Real old and crackadated here. I'm in my hot tent. Ruff and Ridge, come on babies. Come on babies. Hey Ruff, you coming in, buddy? Go and lay down on your bed over there, buddy. Go lay down on your bed. Throw this water out. Come on. Let me throw the water. No, get over here and lay down. Man. Come on. Come on, get over here and lay down. Well, old and crackadated was going to cook a meal out here, but I'm not feeling real well, so I decided not to do the meal. But we just come out here and make coffee. I've got my bunk set up here. Oh, some good old taster's choice. Oh, that was a clean spoon. Oh, I'm probably sitting in a shadow too. Oh, Ruff, I finally got him cleaned up. I got his couple burrs off of him. Ain't that right, buddy? They're nice and fluffy. I think I picked about 4 off of him today. I ain't gonna be able to get Ridge away from the heater. I decided to just light up the little buddy heater. It was on low heat. It heated up pretty quick in here since there's no wind. And of course I had it all set up to build a fire in the stove, had my wood stacked there and had it stacked real neat here and had all my kindling right there. And my puppies, I let them out to run free, and what did they do? Carried all my kindling outside, took my stack of firewood outside, took my sleeping bag off of the bunk, well both of them, and carried them out there in the yard. Whatever germs was on that cup are gone now. That's scalding hot coffee. We'll have to wait a few minutes for it. But I have got another little treat. I should have put my table up. I got one set up in the gazebo tent. Yeah. I brought me some crackers. Hell, I can At least use that for a table. And I could not find my wool blanket. Don't know what's happened to it. And I'll tell you that so many people in their 20s and 30s dying and having strokes and heart attacks, and we know exactly what's causing it. A nice little snack instead of having supper. I ate a bowl of cereal and took my medicine. Oh. Mighty good stuff. Ruff, where'd you go, boy? Here, Ruff. Ruff. Ridge don't seem to want Ruff to come in the tent. Ruff, come here, boy. It was tough setting this tent up. It's a good thing I didn't film it. It would have taken a terabyte of card to film it. Because I had to rig it between the gazebo and the tree over here behind me. And these are the rocks beside the walk right here. Oh, well, they make a good little table. And when you build a fire in the stove, these sandstone rocks will heat up. When the fire dies down, you'll still have plenty of heat radiating from the rock. Ruff, come get you something to eat, buddy. I think I may be going to full-fledged diabetic. The way my feet feel. Good work. Come here, buddy. Right there. Come on in, lie down. Come on. Come on in. Come on, buddy. Come on, my boy. You get back now. having a tough time with my hands too. I don't know if my guitar playing is ever gonna improve enough to play. I'm having a hard time holding things. And I noticed yesterday that my speech had gotten sort of tongue-tied again. Oh, that's pretty good. I tell you, no trouble to heat this place. Turn that heater on, and before I could even get the camera set up, it was warm in here. This reminds me of going places with Ladybug, and I would stop at McDonald's and get a plain hamburger. And feed her. I get me a couple of hamburgers and get her a plain hamburger. And in the house, when I fixed a meal, or if I made a sandwich, I'd feed her the crust off the bread. And Ridge has become a little darling. Of course, they still run down there a couple of times a day and chase the horses. Then when I go down to feed, Spot will come running up to the fence and jump back and forth, trying to stir them dogs into chasing him. Just a minute, baby. I need to feed you too many of these salty crackers. Hope the camera's still running. I enjoyed Tony's video, camping in the U-Haul. I commented, yep, he's getting a hitch put on his Subaru, so he'll need to camp in a U-Haul trailer. I've got a horse trailer that's made like a covered wagon. It's got a rounded top on it, like a covered wagon. And that heavy metal edging. I think there's about 4 strips of it up the side, and then it has that loop over the top. It was built by the Amish. It's got no springs on it, I don't think. It was built to haul horses and cows. And it's what I brought Sonny and Roscoe home in. And Willie, my horse that died last year, I bought him at the auction, and the guy had been trying to sell me a horse trailer. So I bought a horse for about $160 and paid $1,400 for a trailer to haul him home in. It's sitting out here in the driveway. I got a blown out tire on the evening sun side of it. It was just sitting there one day and sounded like a shotgun going off on a real hot day. The sun was hitting that tire and it blew wide open. I've got a new tire put on it. I've got to get it mounted. I've got a tire machine. I'll tell you, that stuff sure is good. Well, I guess what I ought to do is cap it and say that's enough. Don't worry, I'm going to give you another cracker. I sure love my dogs. I was going to bring the puppies out. They're not puppies. Oh! Stop it now. That was my finger you bit. Oh. You know better than that. Let them puppies out this afternoon, and they tore all 3 of the guy lines off the tent, chewed them up. Came in here and drug the sleeping bags out in the yard, and the bag that the tent came in, and all the tent pegs, and the guy lines that I didn't use. That hurt, puppy. Took me about an hour to find all the guy lines, the big guy lines. but I've got it staked out over here on this corner. I've got the wheelbarrow laid down and the cord run over it and stretched to hold that side of the tent up. Then I've got my stainless steel fire pit shoved over there, and my two rocks that fit in this right here, I shoved them over there to hold it out. I may light it up in a little while, just to burn it for a little while. That's going to keep it plenty warm in here tonight. I just can't think of anything to say tonight. I'm so exhausted. I just been hurting all over. But I got my other speaker in. It's a Jensen MOD 50 watt, and I'm building it for those 40 watt amplifiers I've got that have got a speaker plug, an external speaker plug. They're both 4 ohms on the speaker. But that speaker ought to sound real good, and that stage right amplifier really sounds good. And I shot some more video on my new Zoom Q8N 4K camera, and I can't get it to download on the computer. It won't even recognize it, and I don't know why. I went to the Zoom website. Their instructions do not tell you anything about hooking it up to the computer and how to get it to work. My other Zoom camera works just fine. But it won't recognize this one. I've even taken the card out and put it in the card reader and plugged in the computer, and that's the biggest piece of junk. The app that runs that thing won't even show you what it's downloaded. First time I used it, it did. It showed me the number of the segment on the card, and started with the download speed and tracked it as it had downloaded, and now it don't do anything. It's just blank. I don't know what's wrong, unless it's been hit with a virus. They were talking on the news tonight about a bunch of Chinese hackers. It's a government-run organization that's all they do is sit at their computers and hack computers all day long. And they've hacked into 8 mobile cell phone companies. I know it's affected the internet. My internet goes off 3 or 4 times a day during the middle of the day. Well, I may camp out here tonight, but then I may not. I don't know. I'm so tired. I gotta put some flea and tick medicine on these puppies. They got ticks all over them. It's been such warm weather, and then it turns off cold and then gets warm again. See if this camera is even running. I don't even know if I'm in the frame. I can't see good enough to tell. Well, it's still running. That's a surprise. It won't be running long though. I like this little tent, but I didn't get it up high enough. I put up a half-inch nylon rope to tie it to, and it sagged right here in the middle. Of course, I ended up tying it up to that rope, tight as I could get in 4 different places on the roof. And there's no hanger built into the tent if you don't have your hammock line run through. You don't have any place to hang a light. Of course, I can hang my light and portable fan on the camera tripod. I guess I may sleep out here tonight. Go back in and check on the puppies for a little while. I may just go ahead and build a fire in this stove too. Just to have a nice little fire. Oh, I had a nice little neat stack of kindling here, and look what I've got now. Yeah, rough, they sort of destroyed my kindling pile. I had it all nice and neat where all it just do is just take it and put it in the stove. And the rest of it, they just carried it out there and scattered it. Over half of my wood pile. Let me step over here and get my lighter, babies. Yeah, they were running around plumb. They took some of my sticks plumb down to the barn. Went to feed the horse. Well, I got the fire started and I used some of those alcohol cotton balls. And it is warm as toast in here. Mighty, mighty warm. Matter of fact, I'm fixing to make another cup of coffee. My last paper towel too. Yeah, I just stuffed about 4 of those cotton balls in there and poured some pellets on top of it. And in just a few minutes that wood caught up real quick. One end of this thing's got a red mark on it. How do they expect somebody to see that in the dark? And you ain't gonna tear it open on that other end for sure. Ooh. It'll definitely boil a pot of coffee now. Ugh. Oh, I'm toasty warm. I think I can unbutton my shirt now. I won't take it off because it's too hard to get back on. It's mighty comfortable. If I get ready to go to bed out here, of course I'll have to go in and check on the puppies. Fire's roaring pretty good. And I can use that little hook on that tool here. I need to glue that handle in it where it won't turn. But I just take it, stick it in that hole, pop that lid up, slide it over, pour pellets in, slide it back over. It falls right into that little hole. And Ridge ain't gonna let Ruff in here. She's just laying right there in the door. But now if I get over there in that bunk, she'll be up there with me. Well, the battery went dead a while ago. I don't know how much I got. Well, the stove is burning pretty good. Be nice if I had more wood for it. I think I got one more log that'll fit. I had enough to use all night long. Them crazy dogs was grabbing sticks and running off with them, and Ruff grabbed one that the puppies had carried to the barn. He grabbed it and brought it back up here, but he left it laying in the backyard where he lays down to chew on stuff. And Red's not going to let him in the door. I feel like I could crawl in the bunk right now and get a few hours sleep, and I may do that. I don't sleep but about 2 hours at a time. I may sleep a couple of hours and then go in the house. Although I would love to have been set up for the night, but I was so tired when I got this tent put up. I don't have any strength in my arms anymore. I may be getting old. I sure am crackadated. Yeah, that little stove puts out quite a bit of heat. And this tent is heavy enough fabric that it holds the heat in pretty good. And of course I leave my door open for the puppies, and that gives me plenty of ventilation. Red sure does like a stove. When I light that cast iron stove, she stretches out and gets the heat from the bottom of it. Oh, I'm so sleepy. But I'm not sleepy. I can't even think of any good stories. Came up with a good joke yesterday, the day before yesterday, and I messaged it to my brother. He thought it was pretty funny. I come up with a lot of original jokes. Like a natural blonde, she was in her 20s and had about 6 kids, never married. This guy asked her, said, "Didn't your daddy ever teach you to say no?" And she said, "Well, my daddy said never to use the N word." That's blonde, all right. That's about as off color as a joke I'll ever get. My wife was a natural blonde, and she said all the jokes were written about her. I miss her so bad. She was so funny. Had a real good attitude for all the potentially life-threatening conditions she had. Had a mitral valve prolapse that gave her trouble from time to time. Had grand mal epileptic seizures. And those seizures, after she had that reaction to that dive, the seizures got so bad they could last for 12 hours, constant seizures. She had a seizure at these friends of ours' house, and she was laying in the bathroom door halfway out in the hall, and I had to straddle her, and he controlled her legs while I got in the door and kept her arms from getting broke, because she was just, she'd have a seizure for a minute, then it might stop for 2 or 3 minutes. And we were both worn out by the time she had the last seizure. I don't know how many hours it went, but it was all day long. I had an uncle that died with an epileptic seizure. He was servicing some electronic equipment at Air Force Base there outside of Atlanta. And he was in a motel room sitting on the side of the bed and had a seizure and choked to death. Sometimes the tongue would pull back and block the airway. And the method I used was to lock her jaws by putting my fingers in the joint itself and pressing on both sides. And that way the jaw is locked. It's a veterinarian trick for them to be able to shove a pill down a dog's throat without them getting bitten. You can't close the mouth if your jaws are locked with a finger in that joint on both sides. And on several occasions I had to put my hand all the way down her throat and press her tongue to clear the airway just for her to get a breath, and then she'd start breathing. But when a seizure would start, the tongue would pull all the way back and block the throat. When I'd do that and press her tongue, it'd open that airway. You'd hear her take a breath, and she'd breathe after that. Yeah, even a doctor asked me, said, "Well, aren't you afraid of getting your fingers bitten off?" I said, "No, I learned this from a veterinarian." There was a veterinarian that I used to use that he took dog wormer for worms. I mean, those dog and horse medications are safe for humans to use, but they're cheap. That's the reason doctors say don't use animal medicines. Only use approved for humans. Well, that's because they jacked the price up 10 times. Well, I put another battery in the camera, but I don't know how much power it's got left. don't know how many minutes of film I've got, but I know it's cut off twice already. Well, old and crackadated. He's old and crackadated more every day.